What's going on, guys? Matthew Moniz here, and this is the MSI GS75, the very first laptop in 2019 that's in my studio with an RTX graphics card. The big difference between the GS75 and last year's GS65 is the size difference. You're essentially getting a 17-inch laptop compared to a 15-inch laptop. Now, this obviously looks a lot like the GS65. It retains some of that similar form factor. You have a nice, clean design. I like how MSI is keeping it simple with a nice black matte look. You have gold trim around the sides, and of course the MSI logo in the middle. Weight is fantastic on this thing, 5 pounds. This is only slightly heavier than the P65. To give you guys an idea of what it looks like compared to the 15-inch version, you have a little bit more width, it's slightly taller, but the weight, you really can't tell the difference unless you put it on a scale. Now, in terms of ports, on the left-hand side, you have one RJ45 jack, your barrel connector, USB 3.0, a micro SD card slot. I would have preferred a full size instead, and of course your headphone and mic jack. On the other side, you have a full-size HDMI slot. This can do 4K at 60 Hertz. You have USB Thunderbolt 3, so you can hook it up to an external GPU down the road, 2 more USB 3.0 ports, and a regular USB Type-C port. So build quality is pretty much on par with last year, but you are seeing some minor cosmetic improvements. I'm finding the sides of the laptop to be a little bit more smooth to touch. I'm finding the color scheming to be more consistent. You can still open up the laptop with one hand. Keyboard flex is still fantastic. Screen flex is there, but it's no more so than other gaming laptops. The only minor nitpick that I have is the hinge itself. It's pretty stiff to about 90 degrees, but once you pass that point, it loosens up a little bit. Same holds true when you're bringing the screen back down. I just think the sides of the hinge need to be tightened up a little bit more. Getting inside the laptop is super easy. You just remove all the screws on the bottom. Once you're inside, you have access to your M2 SSDs. There's 3 slots for your drive, so potentially you can have 3 storage devices in here and have tons of space to use. Even if you want, you can put them in RAID 0 for super fast SSD speeds. The battery size is 82 watt hours. I was getting about 6 to 7 hours of use before needing to charge, and that was doing simple productivity tasks. Unfortunately, you don't have access to the RAM unless you flip the motherboard over. If you do that, you can access it and you can put up to 32 gigabytes inside of here. Now, in terms of cooling, we're talking about 7 heat pipes and 3 fans. That's more than most other gaming laptops, and I'll talk about heat management shortly. But the display has actually improved from the previous generation of 1080p displays. I'm finding it to have better color accuracy in terms of color reproduction, so if you're planning to use this for design purposes, you're gonna appreciate the display on this thing. It also has really good brightness, so if you're taking this thing outdoors, you're gonna have some good visibility. Now, this is obviously a gaming screen. It is 144 Hertz. I would have loved to have the option to go up to a higher resolution just because these graphic cards that are inside of here are so powerful, and because they're using RTX, I would have loved to be able to try out some 4K games with ray tracing. So on top, we have the 720p potato camera. Obviously, it's not that great. This is what I look like without beer goggles, and this is what I look like with beer goggles. Call me. So for sound, we have 2 2-watt speakers on the bottom. They don't sound that great. They get loud enough to fill a small to medium-sized room. They don't distort, but they're just super tinny. My suggestion is to always hook up headphones to this thing. The good news though is that the sound drivers inside of here are more than capable to power good headphones, so you will have good sound quality. The next thing is the keyboard. This is a full-size keyboard with a numeric keypad. So one day you're playing your games, the next day you're in classroom, punching out some numbers, learning how to add, you have that capability. SteelSeries partnered with MSI to provide the RGB lighting. The good news though is that you can basically customize each individual key to whatever color you want. There's also a bunch of profiles installed for specific types of gaming. Touchpad is very wide. I love the horizontal space, lots of room to move your hands around. It is using Windows Precision drivers, it is a glass touchpad, and overall it's pretty accurate. So let's talk about what counts, the performance. This is an RTX 2080 Max-Q paired with an 8750H. This is the fastest GPU you can get in a laptop right now. And what you're gonna get is performance gains of 15 to 30% compared to last year's GTX 1080 Max-Q. So this is about on par with a full-size desktop GTX 1080. Now, if you really think about it, that's quite impressive considering the TDP with this card is actually 10 watts lower than last last year's GTX 1080 Max-Q. So less power, less heat, but yet better performance. Now for 1080 gaming, it's not that big of a deal because we got great frame rates last year, but it's when you play higher resolution games or turn on ray tracing for the few games that are available that you see the biggest difference. Now obviously this is a 1080p screen, so you're not gonna be able to take advantage of that, but if you hook it up to a display with a 4K monitor, at least you can do that type of gaming. Heat management was also great on this laptop. Less than 50 degrees for surface temperatures. The only times it would get hot was when things were under full load. Look, this laptop will thermal throttle. It will hit 94 or 95 degrees Celsius, but it does a good job of staying relatively cool. I noticed when it was under full load, it would drop the boost down to 2.6 gigahertz and keep the CPU temps between 80 and 85. There's no signs of any frame drops, there's no lagging when I'm playing games, but yes, you will get thermal throttling. It's expected in a laptop this thin with a graphics card this powerful. So that pretty much wraps up my review of the MSI GS75. I like this laptop. It is expensive, but if you're looking for a 17-inch laptop and you want the most powerful graphics card on the market, this is the laptop that's going to do it. I actually enjoy the size of this 17-inch version. In fact, I hope more manufacturers release laptops that are 17 inches that have the same weight and the same form factor, because quite frankly, I'd rather carry this than the 15-inch version of it. Anyways, that wraps up my review. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.